Okay, so one of our viewers sent me this article and it's titled, Map Shows US Cities Hit Hardest by Plunge in Canadian Tourists. Now, we already know that tourism to the United States is down. And up until this point, we've had the StatCan numbers when it comes to the border crossings. But a lot of the media has picked up on this new cell phone activity in the United States. And this article has kind of taken that data along with our border crossing data and mapped out which cities in the United States are affected the most. Now, there's the typical ones like Las Vegas and the ones in California along the borders, the ones that we already know about. But the Newsweek article actually shows some cities in the state that have consistently said that they're doing fine. But they have a lot of cities in this list that's blurred out right now. So I'm going to show this to you in a bit. Also, our good friend of the channel, Wayne Smith, was on CBC Radio again. And quite a few people actually emailed me and messaged me on social media asking me, hey GTL, why did the numbers go up in April when it comes to like border crossings? Well, Wayne Smith actually explains this, and I think he's better at explaining it than I can. He also talks about his prediction on what the tourism season is going to be for Canada, and it sounds pretty good. So we're going to get into all of this in this video, and I'm going to start off with a news article by Newsweek, and it's titled, Map Shows US Cities Hit Hardest by Plunge in Canadian Tourists. Now, just a heads up, if you guys hear some noise in the background, one of my neighbors is doing some drilling again, so I really don't know what they're doing, but it's pretty loud. Also, this article is pretty long, so I'm only going to take certain parts out of it, but I'll read it out for everybody, for those that are just listening in, or for the visually impaired. Alright, let's get started. Cities across the United States have seen up to 65% decrease in Canadian tourism as the relationship between the two countries frayed amid President Taco Tuesday's tariffs and talk about making Canada's 51st state. According to a new report from the University of Toronto, whose lead author told Newsweek that the decline spans more than just tourists and snowbirds. Washington and Ottawa have long been political allies on the global stage, but the relationship has been tested by Taco Tuesday's escalated rhetoric towards Canada. His tariffs and annexation threats have caused many Canadians to avoid travel to the United States, carrying economic consequences for cities and businesses dependent on tourism from Canadians. The new data reveals which cities have been hit the hardest amid the Canadian tourism plunge. Next section is titled, Sunbelt and Northeast Cities See the Largest Decline in Canadian Tourism. The report from the University of Toronto School of Cities, authored by Karen Chappell, Yihui Zhang, and Jeff Allen, analyzed cell phone activity data of the Canadians in the US. The report compares the data from April 2024 through March 2025 with April 2025 through March 2026. Overall, the researchers found a 42% decrease in Canadian visits to the major US metropolitan areas, higher than the 25% recorded by border crossing estimates. That suggests that border crossing data is not capturing the full decline, or that Canadians visiting the US are traveling to fewer locations and spending less time across the border, the report found. Oh my god, this drilling is pissing me off. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. I'm going to have to take a look at it later. Now, one thing about the cell phone activity is that we do have to consider some people might be using eSIMs or buying local SIMs in the United States. I've said this in the past. But it does bring up a good point that Canadians might be crossing, but they might not be staying as long as they did before, and they might not be jumping around to different cities. It might be like a quick in and out kind of thing. I'll give you guys an example. When I used to travel a lot for work, I would usually couple my work trip with like a vacation at the end. Back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, when I did have to travel to the US for work, the first 3 or 4 days would be there for work. And then after that, if it was a weekend coming up, I would just ask to stay for the weekend. I did that a lot when I was going to California, mainly to visit friends. And just for the record, I'd be on my own dime. I'm not making my work pay for my extra stay. But when I was there, I would maybe check out a Kings game or hang out with friends, whatever it is. The point is that I was spending extra money there. But according to the data, that wouldn't be like a 3-day work trip for me. That would be like a 7-day stay in the United States. But nowadays, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people going to the US for work, but then just getting the hell out of there. Okay, so this article actually has an interactive map, and I kind of wish they put this into a chart so I could just read it out, but I actually have to hover over top of each state just to see what the numbers are. So I'm going to start off with Washington State, because I'm familiar with that one the most. So Seattle dropped 47.6%. Then we go down the coast. San Francisco, 56.9. Where else? Sacramento, 48.4. Santa Maria, 52.3. Los Angeles, 52. San Diego, 53. Yuma, Arizona, 62.3% drop. I'm guessing that's going to be the snowbirds that are contributing to that number. We got Nevada at 55.5%. Let's see, Hawaii, 53%. Alaska, 53%. Texas drop. Austin, 50%. Houston, 51. Dallas, 49. Going up to Michigan, it looks like everywhere in Michigan is hovering around the 53 to 48% mark. Along the New York area, looks like everywhere is above 50%. New Hampshire, Lebanon, New Hampshire is 51%. Vermont, Burlington, Vermont is 48%. Maine, Portland, Maine, 49%. Then we got Rhode Island, about 55%. Where's New York? Why am I not finding New York? New York. Bear with me. New York, 55.5%. Moving down, you got Myrtle Beach, 65.4. I think that's the top one. And you got a whole bunch in Florida here that are showing average, most of them are actually over 50%. And the strange thing that I'm wondering, and I'm kind of questioning right now, is, Florida's been the state that has been saying that they've been doing great and everything is okay. Now, they may be getting domestic tourists, but, according to this chart, the Canadian tourism is down by a lot. So, yeah, take that for what you, take it for what you see. Now, if you want to take a look at this map on your own, the link to the article will be in the description below. But I'm not going to lie, it is kind of fun to hover over all these states and cities and see the drop in percentages. So check it out if you want to see the percentages for each city individually. Now, this next section, they do summarize the cities that are affected the most, but they don't have the percentages. But let me read it out. But some areas have been hit harder than others. Cities in the Sunbelt, including popular tourism destinations, as well as those in the northeast closer to the United States-Canadian border, saw the largest drops. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, saw the largest decline in Canadian tourists at 65.4%, according to the report. The following cities round up the top 20. Yuma, Arizona, Panama City, Florida, Brownsville, Texas, Orlando, Florida, Cape Coral, Florida, Miami, Florida. There's a lot of Florida ones in here. San Francisco, California, Northport, Florida, Palm Bay, Florida, Providence, Rhode Island, New York City, Las Vegas, Nevada, Flint, Michigan, Deltona, Florida, Albany, New York, Port St. Lucie, Florida, I hope I pronounced that right, Barnstable, Massachusetts, Ann Arbor, Michigan. And not gonna lie again, it does make me happy to read out those Florida ones. But this is new data that we're getting, and I do hope that in the future that we can get more data, more accurate information out of this. Because we know we cannot rely on the United States. StatCan data is all we have right now, and then also the US businesses basically crying for us to come back. Now I'm gonna end the article here, but it does talk about quite a bit more things. Let me take a look. So it talks about business travel drop, how much the U.S. has lost due to Canadian tourism, why Canadian relationships have deteriorated. I mean, we know why. A few other things. So if you do want to read the article, you can click on the link in the description below. But I do want to move on to the radio interview that Wayne Smith did on CBC Radio. Because like I said earlier, a lot of people were asking me, hey, GTL, why were the travel numbers higher in April? Is the boycott over? And I'm just like, oh my God, seriously. But Wayne Smith explains it a lot better than I can, so let me start the clip.
So let's talk a little bit more about Canadians and travel to the States, or perhaps more pertinently, not traveling to the United States. Canadians made 25% fewer trips to the U.S. than the year before, but new StatsCan data shows that more Canadians crossed the border this April compared to the same month last year. So what's behind those numbers, and what does it tell us about where Canadians will and won't travel this summer? Wayne Smith is the director of the Institute for Hospitality and Tourism Research at Toronto Metropolitan University, and he's in our Toronto studio. Hi, Wayne.
Good day. Pleasure to be here with you, Ian.
Yeah, really nice to have you on the program. So more Canadians made return trips to the United States last month than, and this is significant, exactly a year before. What does that tell us about the elbows up movement?
Well, it tells us that that was the beginning of the movement last year and that it was at its height at that point. So you're always going to have a little bit of backslide with any boycott. And the fact that you're in single digits, the boycott's going still pretty strong.
So for those emailing me saying, hey, is the boycott over because we had 1 month that it went up in single digits? No, it's not. It's exactly what Wayne said. If you remember April of last year, that's the time when people really started to avoid the United States. And for me, I'll use myself as an example. That's when I started my channel. I started the channel because I really started to get pissed off. I mean, sure, I was pissed off before that, but things were kind of gradual. But I do remember the month of April last year. It was enough for me to say, you know what, I'm done. And I started a YouTube channel. So I'm sure I'm not the only one in April that was really pissed off last year.
Yeah. So in other words, the numbers may be up slightly over a year ago, but they're still down kind of historically.
Yeah. If you're looking versus 2024, it's down significant still.
So for anybody that is concerned, all you have to do is look at the 2024 numbers and compare it to now. I mean, this is going to happen for the next couple of years at least. So if you really do want to compare and see if the momentum is still going, always compare it to 2024.
So gas prices are, spiking. A lot of people's personal budgets are shrinking. Debts are piling up. I mean, it is a bleak time for a lot of Canadians when they look at their household finances. And what impact does that have on travel patterns?
Well, the thing about tourism is it's the canary in the coal mine. It really is. It's the first thing people cut when the budgets aren't going well. It's the first thing that comes back when the budgets start coming back because people want to do it. We're seeing some real big shifts right now. We're seeing a lot of people, as we've heard here, a lot of cars. So Canadians are driving and they tend to stay about 8 hours from home. It's sort of the max area that they're going. We're seeing a lot of people sort of the provincial parks and national parks are doing really well with bookings this year for camping. So we're also seeing cottages in different places like second homes that are getting rented out. Those are doing really well this year where you could fit a whole family in for one price.
So there's no way around this. I mean, travel plans this year, of course, we all want to travel, but they're going to have to be adjusted. Mainly because of Taco Tuesday screwing everything up for the rest of the world. I mean, me, for example, I was hoping to come home this month or next month. But unfortunately, flight prices are just ridiculous right now. But not only that, hotel prices in Vancouver are just ridiculous, mainly because of the FIFA World Cup. So it's probably a bad time for me to come home right now, which is why I'm planning, hopefully in the fall, to come back. But I'm just one person, and I'm sure others have had to make adjustments to their travel plans this year. But we want to travel, and we want to use up our paid vacation days. And if flight prices are too much, the only other option is to explore our own country. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I mean, if I was back in Vancouver, I would be exploring the rest of Canada right now.
And I mean, some of these things were kind of increasing during COVID, not the lockdown period, but kind of the period where maybe people were more kind of sort of comfortable driving somewhere than they were flying somewhere. Is there anything new this time around in terms of changing travel patterns?
One of the things that we're seeing is actually more leisure. So people mixing business and leisure. So what they're doing is they'll go Sunday to Wednesday to get a cheaper price on those days. And what you're finding is that, I can do a couple Zoom meetings while I'm Monday, Tuesday, but the rest of the day I can go do my thing. So you're seeing a lot of people mixing business and pleasure here. And they're doing it so that they can go Sunday through Wednesday or a Monday through Thursday. And they're not traveling and paying the weekend prices.
So a question for the Canadians watching right now. What are your travel plans for this year? Have they been changed because of the fuel prices and all the other bullshit going on in the world right now? I think now is a very good time to explore our own country. If I was back in Vancouver, I'd probably do a trip to the interior. I haven't done that for a very long time. And it's also time for me to do an Eastern Canada trip as well.
Wayne, some destinations are going to lose out this summer because of the feelings people have about not wanting to go to the United States. Who are the winners going to be?
The East Coast is going to win big again this year. Halifax, Charlottetown, Cape Breton, Moncton, those areas are going to do really well. The areas around the capital area, into Quebec, some of the Laurentian area is going to do really well because they're all within that sort of 8-hour driving period of a lot of population, including a lot of Americans who are coming to Canada. One of the funny things is down south, they've been reporting about how Canadians won't travel down there because of the exchange rate. Well, most Americans, if they don't live close to the border, didn't realize there was an exchange rate. So now they've realized that coming to Canada is a 30% off discount. Yeah. So you're seeing, with the American economy not so good, we're going to see a lot more Americans come to Canada.
Now, I think this is actually a good opportunity for me to address some emails that I did see. They're from U.S. citizens who are basically asking, are we going to be welcomed if we come to Canada? Are people going to judge us because we're from the United States? My answer? No. As long as you're not behaving like a MAGA or anything, you'll be fine. I mean, people might question and see, but, it really depends on what you say. Last year in the summer, we had a lot of U.S. tourists coming to Vancouver. And during my walks around town, I'd always run into U.S. citizens, whether they're coming off a cruise ship or just visiting the city. And anytime I would see somebody that's, looking for a map or trying to figure out where they're going, I would always ask them, can I help you with anything? And a few times they were nervous, they wasn't too sure how we would react to them. But the icebreaker, and it's kind of sad to say this, but they would always say, we didn't vote for the guy. And it made everything all better. And unfortunately, it is a sad reality we're in right now. I mean, anytime someone sees a U.S. citizen outside of the U.S., people are going to wonder. And it really depends on what you say. So if any U.S. citizen decides to come to Canada, I think you should be fine. And if you decide to come to Vancouver, let me know. I'll give you some areas that you should check out. And bonus points to anybody who knows where I took this photo.
Of all things. And we're starting to see that trend already. So You're also going to see a lot of places, for example, in the more rural areas that are going to do really well. And I think you're going to see, like, for example, camping is going to be really popular this year, and glamping and things that are associated with that, or cottages, second home rentals, these types of things I think are going to be really popular this year.
So let us know in the comments below. What are your plans this year for travel? Are you still going to be traveling overseas, or are you going to be staying home? And I want to thank you, Wayne, for sharing this audio clip with me and also helping to explain the increase for the month of April. Let's jump on another live stream towards the end of the month. To close off this video, I would like to thank Yvonne for posting this photo on the Guard the Leaf Hay Cafe page. And this photo is taken from the Mackenzie River Bridge in Northwest Territories. I don't get many photos from the territories, so anytime I do, I'm very happy to share them with the community. So thank you again, Yvonne. Alright, that's all I got for this video. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international point of view without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you'll be notified of my future videos. And if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.